For the next 2 minutes for people to join in, and then we can begin with our webinar. Welcome to the webinar series on Scribe Online. Myself, Charmi Gogri, working as a data analyst, and I will walk you through Scribe Online as an integration platform and its vast capabilities. Just to note, throughout the webinar, everyone would be muted. So in case of any queries, kindly raise your hand or write back in the chat window. I shall try to answer all of them at the end of the webinar session. Let me take you through the agenda for the webinar. We will be covering the following topics. The basic Scribe Online architecture, various types of agents and connectors available in Scribe Online, different Scribe service offerings, the types of maps for creating solutions for integrations and migrations, checking errors by customized error handling mechanism, event processing capabilities by developing event-based maps, scheduling options for running the integration solutions and monitoring the same. Let's begin with the Scribe Online architecture. Scribe Online, being cloud hosted on Windows Azure, can be accessible through the web browser, having a secure internet connection. That can be done through the URL online.scribesoft.com. In the Scribe Online Cloud rests the designing of the integration solutions. We define the agents, which can be either a cloud agent or an on-premise agent. We give the connection endpoints, the source and target endpoints. We perform data mappings, transformations, scheduling the integration maps, and so on. Having said that, Scribe Cloud has two types of agents, the cloud agent and the on-premise agent. Cloud agent, as the name suggests, resides on the cloud and is used when both the integration endpoints are cloud-based. Whereas on-premise agent, it resides behind the system's firewall and is used when on-premise applications or databases are involved in integrations. This typically gives us an overview of how exactly Scribe Online handles the various integrations. Let us now know about each of these components in details. So let's start with agent. What is an agent? Let me keep it simple for you. Scribe Online, it cannot directly get exposed to the data sources in the system. It requires a middleware which will surpass the system's firewall and grant the access to communicate. Agent does this. An agent, it helps the Scribe Cloud to basically communicate with the data stores by opening the security hole in the system's firewall. This is all about agent. As mentioned, Scribe has two types, cloud and on-premise agent. Cloud agent is used when both the source and target endpoints are cloud-based. The on-premise agent, it comes in picture when the source and the target endpoints, they are on-premise. It may be a SQL's data store or a MySQL data store. Depending on the integration requirement, we can opt for the suitable agent. Next is connectors. Connectors are used for establishing connections with the source and target endpoints. Scribe offers different types of connectors for facilitating smooth data integration process. Through Scribe, we can connect to Microsoft Dynamics CRM online or on-premise, Microsoft Dynamics GP, SQL database. We can also have Excel or CSV files in our connections. All these connectors I spoke about can be seen in the Marketplace section in the Scribe Online interface. There's something more to add here. We can also create our own custom connectors using CDK, which is the Connector Development Kit, which will be covered in the second part of our webinar series, that is tomorrow. Now, let us see how Scribe Online actually looks like. This is the Scribe Online UI. Using the URL online.scribesoft.com, giving the account credentials, we land up at this page, as we all can see. On the left hand side is the menu where we can see information about the integration solutions created, the various agents and connections, the lookup tables used in the solutions, the users information who can have access to the organization, the marketplace, which as mentioned is a list of connectors which displays the list which are supported by Scribe Online, and lastly the organization information owning the Scribe Online license. At the top right corner we have the organization name for which Scribe is licensed. Beneath we have the Scribe account information through which you log in onto the Scribe Online portal. We can also see the invitations pending for SOL by other organizations, and then the help and sign out options. Now let us see how an agent is set up in Scribe Online. As mentioned, there are two types, cloud and on-premise. The cloud agent is already set up on the Scribe cloud and it is running. An on-premise agent has to be manually installed on the local machine. For doing that, what we need to do is click on this button, install on-premise agent. We need to download the exe and run it by providing the key, which you can see here, the agent key. Once this key is given, we can successfully install the on-premise agent. Next is establishing a connection. All the connectors which are available in the marketplace, we can make those connections in SOL in their solutions. When we click on a new connection, the first we begin with the connection type. It can be either a Microsoft Dynamics CRM connection or a GP connection. We can have text files. Based on the type, we give a suitable connection name. For example, in the type, if we select Microsoft Dynamics CRM, in the connection, we can write Dynamics CRM 2015. Connection alias is automatically populated as soon as we give the connection name. Depending on the type of connection you choose, we select the agent. If you choose an on-premise connection in the type, we need to select an on-premise agent. Similarly, for cloud-based applications, we need to select an cloud agent. Well, this was how we set up the connections. Let's move ahead. The next what we have is Scribe Services. Scribe offers three types of services: replication service, migration service, and integration service. Replication services, they are used for replicating the data from cloud-based application to your local system, SQL or a MySQL data store. The target in case of a replication service has to be an on-premise database. Migration services, they are used for moving and loading the data from one platform to another. This type of service is available for resellers only. An example of this would be loading the data from a production environment to a test instance. Integration services are much more matured as compared to the rest of the Scribe services. They are bidirectional in nature with minimal restrictions. We can have integrations between a cloud to an on-premise data store, on-premise to a cloud-to-cloud integration, or an on-premise to on-premise integration. Which service to be used when depends totally as per the business requirement. Now let's see what are the major differences between these services. In regards to scheduling the integration solutions, migration service has to be run manually, but where the rest of the services there is no restriction, they can be scheduled as well. Another difference is that for replication, the endpoint has to be an on-premise data store, whereas for the other services, this does not hold true. This was a gist on Scribe services. Let me show you how can we use these services in case of Scribe Online. When we click on solutions, we click on new, it will ask us which integration service or integration service event based you want to select. IS event will be covered further in the webinar. We can also have replication service or migration service. As mentioned, migration service is available only for resellers, so that's the reason we can't see it. That's all about Scribe services. The next what we have is maps. There are two types of maps, basic and advanced. What are maps? So maps, they basically help us in designing our integration solutions. The basic maps, they are used when we have direct one-to-one mapping of the source and target fields. Advanced maps, on the other hand, are more mature and they give advanced options like having multiple blocks in the same map itself. For example, you can have a create, update, insert block line by line together, which is not possible in case of a basic map. We can also have a drag and drop functionality. Let's actually try and build a map for better understanding. Scribe Online, I've already built up a solution. Let me take you through that. On solution, when we click on new, it will ask us which type of map we want to create. Initially, I've created a basic map. In the map, we need to give a suitable name which will define the actual purpose of the integration. We mention the source entity. We add any filters if required. One thing to note here is that filtering in case of basic maps is static, meaning you cannot apply any functions or transformations to the input you provide here. Next, what we have is we set up the target connection, the target entity. We choose an operation, it may be update, insert, or create. For update insert, I need to provide a matching criteria, which in my case I give name. This means that if the account name is already existing in target, it will update the account, else it will create a new account in the target. The reset metadata, this command is used to drop and recreate the connector's schema information. This command, it typically is used when various modifications have occurred within the connecting application and you require the most current schema information. After giving the connection information, we move to fields. We can directly drag and drop the fields in the target. Also, there's one more feature available when we select all the fields and we click on auto link here. All the fields of the target which has the same name in the source as well as the same data type, they automatically get linked and a task is done. So once you fill in the connection details and you map the fields, we are good to go with the basic map. Let's start with the advanced map now. In advanced map, the UI itself, it looks more fancy as compared to the basic map. We give a suitable map name. We set the source and the target endpoints. In advanced map, we can have multiple targets in the connection. Also, as we can see, there are multiple blocks available. In an advanced map, we always have to start with the query block, followed by the for each result block, and then the other blocks follow. One thing we notice here, as mentioned, that we can have multiple blocks in case of advanced map. For example, after the create account, I need an update account. In scenario where after the creation of the account in target, we want a flag, suppose is processed, to be set to true. In such scenarios, we can use advanced map rather than the basic map. We can also import, export these maps for creating XML based files. In the advanced map, the feature which is not present in basic and is present in advanced is the debugging functionality. It's a major difference between the basic and the advanced map. The debug functionality, it contains various breakpoints which allow you to control which block. The debug utility, it actually writes the records into the target endpoint. So we need to be really very careful while debugging a map. Yes, as I mentioned about import export, we can also convert a basic map into an advanced by just right clicking on the basic map and we say convert. We can also duplicate basic or an advanced map. When we export or import a map, these are just XML based files for the map sharing and management. So this was a basic understanding of maps. So now we are all good to go. The maps are in place. This is it from my end. Now I would like to hand over the further part to my colleague Bhavna.
Thank you.
Unmuted.
I am Bhavna from CloudFront Technologies, and I will continue with the remaining part of this session. The topics that I will be covering are customized error handling, event processing, scheduling, and monitoring. What is error handling? Any process that is done in this world is prone to errors. A good practice is always to handle the errors, or at least notify the users so that they can rectify the process. By default, Scribe does store the record history with the number of record errors and the cause of failures. But let's see how we can customize this default behavior by using some simple tricks. I have created a demo and will walk you through that. Okay, let's consider a scenario that I want to create a new account in my target system. But before that, I do need to check whether the account exists. If the account exists, I do not want duplicates. I will update the account. But if the account does not exist, I will go ahead and create it. But I will also notify the end user that I'm creating a brand new account as the account does not exist in the target. A simple process, I'm querying an account with the name CloudFront. I check whether the account exists. So I drag and drop the update block from the target. I check whether the account with that name exists. If this block passes through, it will go ahead to the next block, that is update account in the source. But there are two behaviors. Let's see how we can handle this. You can see two options. If no matches are found, fail the record with the error message. There's a trick here which we can very simply take care. If I check this, the default behavior of Scribe will be to exit this map and give the error that account does not exist. But I do not want. I do want, if the account does not exist, I want to create a new account. At the same time, I'll also notify the user that I created a new account because the account does not exist. I uncheck this option and save it. The moment I uncheck, it moves on to the next block. In the next block, I can write a custom message saying that no account with this name exists, create a new account. And after this block, it moves on to the next block. So this was a basic difference with the default behavior of Scribe and how we can customize error handling in Scribe. Let's move on to the next topic, which is event processing. Now, what is event processing and event-based maps? As my colleague Charmi mentioned about the types of services, integration, replication, and migration. One of them was integration services event. Let's understand how does this work. Event solutions are used to make a call to a web service through Scribe, which will trigger the integration. Scribe exposes an endpoint, which is REST-based, which is unique for each map that you create. External application can make a call to this service with the source data that is passed to the maps, and the reply which we get from target is passed back to the custom application. The reply is passed, and then with the source we can check whether the event was successful or not. Let's take a simple demo of how we can achieve this. There are two types of integration services, as I mentioned, integration services and integration services event. Let's go ahead and see how this is different from the integration services maps. When I click on new, the basic difference that you saw in the integration services, there were two options available, which was basic and advanced. Here you have request reply and a message. Request reply, as the name suggests, you are sending a request to Scribe and expecting a reply back from Scribe. In 3 simple steps, I'll explain what I want to do and achieve at the end of this demo. The first block in event processing is always wait for request. The endpoint URL that is seen here will not be visible the first time you create the map. It only appears after you save the map. In the request, you configure the parameters that the source application will send that will trigger this integration. In my demo, I have taken an account ID and account name. You can give a sample value to test. The second step would be to build a reply back. In the fields, you can take a simple status field, which will be a Boolean value or a string value, notifying the user that account was created successfully. And third step is the action that you want to perform. It's a simple update insert with the fields that I have from my source to be mapped to the target. Okay, we can see a demo by going into CRM online. Okay, I have a source CRM. My purpose is I create a new account here by giving the account name and account ID, which I just showed that the source accepts as parameters. Let's give an account ID and account name. Once I save the record, this will trigger the integration in Scribe, and in the target, an account with the same name and ID will be created. Let's hit save. Let's check in the target. I will search on the accounts that were created today. Let's check. The name which I gave was demo account. Yeah, here is it, account number and account name. So this was a real-time integration that Scribe did. To summarize what I just showed is integrate data triggered by calls to a web service. Event-based processing allows to expose a Scribe Online integration as a REST endpoint. It generates a unique endpoint URL which will be used by the external application to call. What I just did was a plugin in the source CRM was created, which on account create, by supplying the account ID and account name, passes as a parameter to Scribe REST API and hits the integration to create a new account in the target. The last topic is scheduling and monitoring. We can execute our integration solutions in two ways. One is on demand, which is basically used when you want to manually run your integration process one time. Like you don't have to schedule it every day. So there's an option of on demand. The other is the ongoing integrations that you need to do once or daily, monthly, weekly. You can select the week. Ideally, weekends are not, we do not use weekends to run the integration process. So you have an option of not selecting the weekends. You can also run the integration every 30 minutes, every 10 minutes, depending on your requirement. Monitoring the integration is by checking the execution history in Scribe, which is available here. When I click on any solution, I can view the history of the solution as to how many times this event was triggered, go to the detail of each, and if there are any record errors, we can view the errors. As this button is disabled right now because the event which I triggered was completed successfully. That's all from my side. You can reach us on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can visit our website www.cloudfriends.com. Other contact details are also shared. We'll be sharing the Scribe webinar recording and slide deck by tomorrow. We do have a session tomorrow on Scribe Online Connector development, same time. Do attend it. It will be a very useful session on the custom connectors that we are leveraging for our clients. Thank you. Any questions? See you in the next session. Thank you all for your time.